surviving R. Kelly. I would have to say it started probably about a month ago for me when Jacquees come out with, who's the greatest R&B artist of all time. And hands down, in my generation, without a doubt, it was R. Kelly. I mean, TP2 and Untitled is probably some of the most classic R&B music I've ever heard. And so we was having this debate at work, and they were all on me. How can you listen to R. Kelly? All the things that he done to women, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, look, I like R. Kelly. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I like his music. I like to listen to his music when I'm hanging out with my wife. I play his music when I'm doing my work. Like, I like his music. Oh, he did this. He's a pedophile. How you don't think about those things? I'm like, really? I'm not thinking about a little girl when I'm listening to his music. I'm just enjoying his music. It's good classic R&B music. And that was the debate. However, then a couple weeks later, my wife hey, they got this R. Kelly series on TV. Let's check it out. And I'm like, man, I don't have time for that. I'm not sitting down and watching nothing about R. Kelly. I already know he liked young girls. I mean, hey, back in the days, that was some of the things that some men did. They picked up little girls. They liked little girls. R. Kelly just a famous person that did it. I don't got time for it. She's like, just come watch it with me. And then I remember sitting there, and as I watched the first couple episodes, it was all about, okay, wait a minute, where is these children parents at? If it was my kid, I don't think I would let them hang out with R. Kelly if I knew who he was. And I started wanting to blame these parents for what their children was doing, and how could they let their kids hang out with them, and it's the parents' fault. And that's what I felt like in that moment. I was just I just kept saying, baby, it ain't R. Kelly. Look at these where the parents at. Why would they let them hang out with him? But then I never forget, it was an interesting thing, because you actually got to see truly who R. Kelly was. You would just hear these stories, but in the process of me watching it, because I continued to watch it, it was something to watch. And in the process of me watching it, I started watching it more and just seeing, these parents yearn for their children's love. These parents wanting to see their child, wanting to tell their kids that they love them, and couldn't see their kids. I think that's what hit home for me. And that's when my perception changed, and it started making me feel like, okay, wait a minute. Here you had this guy who God has blessed him with this platform. And instead of him doing these great things with this platform, he out here manipulating these women with his money and his fame, promising them careers, and he's using that to manipulate who they are, and then he's taking them from their family. And I think that's when it hit home for me, and I really started to feel the compassion for these parents at that moment, because what it made me realize was that and it's probably all of society, we as parents, we're all trying to survive R. Kelly. And let me tell you why I say that is because you got to think about it. Hip hop in itself is a form of R. Kelly. The money, the fame, the music. If you're not careful, that'll take your children from you. And I think that it's happening every day. We say, oh, if I was that kid's parents, they would never do these things. I'd have never let them go with R. Kelly. But in the actuality, this music is taking our kids from us. And, you start fighting for that love for your child, but the music and society and the hip hop, it just takes them. It sucks the life out of them. And I remember growing up as a kid, and they would have these surveys, and they was talking about how, hip hop had this negative influence on the culture and on youth. And I was like, it ain't no way. I know what I'm doing. Music don't change me. And everybody thought it was bogus. But when you look back over your life, music had a major impact on some of the decisions that you make. A lot of things, you start listening to music, and after a while, that stuff get in your mind. And it's just ironic nowadays. Molly Percocet. You're hearing this music, and what are people doing? What are kids doing? Percocets, Molly Percocets. I mean, and so I said that to say, Music has a major impact on our kids. And so whether we the parents that's out here working hard, these parents that's in bad relationships, and or the parents who just out partying and doing them, and they never really have time, or they don't get out their own way to be great parents for their children. Whatever the reason is, and we're not having that connection, we're not our children's best friend, we're not great parents from the perspective to spend time with our kids, for them to understand that we're the biggest influence in their life. If we're not doing that, then we're all out here surviving R. Kelly. Because after I watched that show, it made me realize that, I had definitely had empathy for those victims. Because, it's kind of like someone who smoked cigarettes their entire life and then they get cancer. Well, if you have any love, any compassion, in the moment that they get cancer, you're not thinking about, oh, they smoke cigarettes. You're thinking about the pain and the things that they're going through. And you got to have empathy for that. And it's the same for these victims. I'm pretty sure, yeah, they played a part. Yeah, I'm sure some of these parents like, oh, our kid like my daughter, this, that, and the third. And, Kelly did some great things. But in the process of that, they never thought that R. Kelly was going to do their children the way, or have these kind of impacts on their kids the way that it happened. So at some point, you got to have empathy for that. And I'm just saying that to say that in this society that we live in, we got to be careful how we criticize victims and situations, because we never know. We could end up going through some of the same things. And I'm saying that to say that in this society, we're all surviving R. Kelly. Because if your child is indulged in this hip hop, and this hip hop is taking them on a ride that you don't agree with, and you can't reach them, then hey, at some point you're going to lose the love of your kids. So I say that to say, just remember that regardless, in this life that we live, remember the motto: the excuse is you. Peace.